We work so you can play.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Warhammer 40k League Battle Report. I was going to say Jay Knight for some reason. And as always, my name is Jay, and today I'm joined by...
Alan.
And? Dan. For those of you who watch, I think is it free? No, it was Vault last week. No, it was free, maybe, I don't know. I don't remember which one it was. So, you will recognize the Eldar player. Again, yeah, what happened with the Iron Knights? Let's not mention that again. He's a little upset about it, but not you, the other guy. But yeah, so welcome to another Warhammer 40k League Battle Report. And today we have an awesome treat for you guys. We have two armies of Xenos against each other. Your
Orks
versus
Eldar.
Eldar again. And you guys have already rolled to see what type of game.
Yep.
What type of game is it?
Big guns never tire.
Big guns never tire, which is cool. And how many objectives?
5, yeah.
5 objectives. That's a lot of objectives.
Yeah, especially for an Ork player.
And well, you're playing 2,000 points of Orks. How many troops do you have?
2.
It's like an Owen list.
Yeah, well, it's 2 squads of knobs. So.
Oh yeah, that's pretty hardy, 2 squads of boys. And what type of deployment?
Spearhead?
Spearhead? I thought it was Vanguard Strike.
Vanguard
Oh,
Strike.
is that what it's called?
Yeah. It used to be called Spearhead, I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's Vanguard Strike.
It's okay, it doesn't matter. That's awesome. And I can't wait to see this game. It's gonna be a lot of hilarity. This many points of Orc boys versus Eldar. And how many looters do you have?
30.
Only 30.
Only 2 squads at max.
Exactly. So without further ado, we'll get to the armies and the deployment.
All right, so we'll start off with 2,000 points of Orks. So leading the army is a war boss with Power Claw. And there's also the war boss on a bike with Power Claw, and Boss Bull is officially the warlord for the army. Attached to a giant squad of knobs full of Power Claws and big choppas, and they all have cyborg bodies and the better armor. The Knob Squad will be in a battle wagon with red armor and a cannon and extra armor. 2 squads of 15 Ludas maxed out. And a maximum squad of Storm Boys with Boss Eggstruck, who will be dropping down and assaulting whenever they come in. And now 2,000 points of Eldar. Very cool royal looking Eldar. Leading the army is an Autarch on a jet bike with a fusion gun. And Mantle of the Laughing God, which makes him lose independent character status, but gives him shrouded in stealth and a couple other things. And he's pretty nasty in close combat. So he basically has a reroll 2 up from shooting, a reroll 2able up cover save, so that's pretty good. For troops, we have 2 squads of bikes. They're basically the same, except one is a warlock with it. And there's 2 shuriken cannons in each squad. And then 1 squad of shining spears. They are Dan's favorite models. See what happens to them. Next, 2 squads of guardians. They're both 10-mans with a warlock, and they have a heavy weapons platform. One has a scatter laser, and the other one has a missile launcher. Now a squad of swooping hawks. You don't usually see them in Eldar lists. It's fun. 6 hawks with an Exarch. And the Exarch has a sun rifle. A squad of striking scorpions, which once again, he's just trying to take a little bit of everything. There's an Exarch with a scorpion pistol and a scorpion claw. And he has Crushing Blow, which gives him +1 strength. And then 10 Warp Spiders. No Exarch. Those Exarchs are just normal guys. And for heavy support, there's a squad of Warwalkers. 6 Scatter Lasers. They're going to be a lot of fun. No upgrades. And next we have 2 Wraith Lords. One with a Scatter Laser. And one is a Ghost Blade. Ghost Glaive. +1 strength and Mastercrafted, which is pretty cool. Which is kind of useless on a Wraith Knight, but on Wraith Lords, they're pretty good. And that's the 2,000 points of Eldar Trickery.
Here's what the table looks like after deployment. As you can see, the Eldar player is lined up along the lines. Some of the guys are being held back. I'm concerned about those models. And on the other end, so all of the objectives for this game are going to be stones with Eldar symbols, because the Orks wanted to steal them. That makes sense.
Shiny.
Yeah, exactly. And on the other end, Orks have deployed along that line. Whole lot of Ludas. Battle wagon, and boys on bikes. Or knobs on bikes, yeah. So we'll see what happens in the beginning of the game, and yep.
So the Orks decided that they were going to go first. And so he begins by trying to move out of cover. Of course, has to roll a dangerous terrain check, immediately leaving, and he's immobilized. But he doesn't get to re-roll it because he didn't bring a dozer blade or anything. So the battle wagon starts off by immobilizing itself, which is not a very good way to start off the game. It's now not going to get anywhere near the Eldar, and those knobs are going to have to get out eventually. And next he just moves up the bikes and starts firing with the Ludas. So starts shooting at the striking scorpions, gets 3 shots each with the new Ludas, which is a lot of shots. And Ludas are great at just daka and killing Eldar. So he has to roll a bunch of armor saves with those striking scorpions. And he fails most of them. So almost the entire squad of striking scorpions is nerfed, and 2/3 of them are dead. Then he starts shooting at the other Wraith Lord with the Ludas, but unfortunately Ludas aren't very good at killing Wraith Lords since they're 5s to wound and 5s to hit. So unfortunately he doesn't get any wounds. Then he starts shooting at the other Wraith Lord with the kill cannon, and he's okay. So Eldar, turn 1. So the Shining Spears move up, and they're going to be fun. Hopefully they can get in close combat and do some destruction. The Swooping Hawks disappear, so they can come back next turn, and then he just moves up all of his bikes to go in and engage those Orks. He's much faster and will try to outmaneuver the Orks during this battle report, and he shouldn't have that hard of a problem since it's a relatively slow list, especially now that the battle wagon has been immobilized. And this moves back to those Dragon Scorpions. They did pass their leadership check last turn, so they're okay. And moves up his Wraith Lord so they can get a decent shot off at the Orks. So moves them through cover. And he starts shooting at the battle wagon with his Wraith Lords. Get a couple hits, but once again the Wraith Lord will get a cover save due to the fact that he's being slightly blocked by the terrain. And doesn't do anything. So the next one shoots at it. And this is actually surprising. We figured that they were going to destroy the battle wagon pretty easily now that it was immobilized, but can't actually pen it. Can't glance or pen. So the heavy weapons platform and the Guardian shoot at the Ludas. Get a few hits, needing 3s, and only 2 wounds. They get cover, fail both of them. So 2 Ludas are dead, and then the Pie Plate of Doom lands on them. Wounds all 3, and he fails all of his cover saves again. So 10 Ludas are left, and they do a leadership check and they pass. And next he just runs up his Striking Scorpions, and he runs his HQ during the assault phase. He turbo boosts them all around the board, and he turbo boosts his Autarch the complete opposite side of the board to create a distraction for Aaron, and then just runs the Guardians back using their combat focus. Basically right now his goal is just to spread out, possibly get first blood eventually, and just create some target priority for Aaron in the following turn. And next he just moves them up during the assault phase. And lose roll the leadership check and they pass.
Like after 1 turn, as you can see, the Orks, they moved up, didn't do a whole lot with shooting. They took out some Striking Scorpions, but not a whole lot. Then the Eldar also advanced up, didn't do anything. And one of his guys is turbo boosted way over there in that corner, and he did kill a few Ludas. So they killed 5 Striking Scorpions, you killed 5 Ludas. This is pretty even so far. No first blood, score is still 0-0, and we'll see what happens in turn 2.
So now it's Orks turn 2. Humans are rolling for reserves, and they don't come in. So the Storm Boys are going to have to wait for another turn. Next, just turbo boosts up his bikes. That's a scarily crazy group of knob bikers, and they're going to destroy whatever they see. They start shooting at the Shining Spears with all their Daka guns, and get a couple wounds, and he fails 1 armor save. So the first Shining Spear is dead. The next thing, he just keeps shooting at them. So the battle wagon shoots at them, hits them directly on. So this is going to be some big trouble for those Shining Spears. They only need And he fails 3 more armor saves, and they go down, which is unfortunate. Now he starts shooting at the normal bikers. Gets a bunch of hits with the Ludas, a few wounds, and he fails a few more armor saves. So, one more armor save. So, another biker is dead, but it's not the Shining Spears. But those Shining Spears have taken heavy casualties thus far already, and he was hoping to get them in close combat. Doesn't look like he'll get his wish this game. And he rolls his armor saves on the other bikers, and they're good. And leadership checks are good all around. Then declares his assault. They get to Overwatch. But unfortunately, he needs 6s to hit. Some of them are twin-linked. And then 3s to wound. They get a 4-up cover regardless for the bikers. And he passes armor check, but fails his assault distance. So no assault there. And now it is Eldar, turn 2. So now he rolls for reserves. The walkers are coming in. The Swooping Hawks automatically come in because they're an ongoing reserve. The Warp Spiders are coming in. And he has the power to change his reserve rolls if need be by 1. He doesn't want his Guardians to come in, so he holds them back intentionally. And the other bikes do come in. So he sees where the Warp Spiders scatter. They land right there. And the Swooping Hawks come in and they drop their bomb at the same time. The Warwalkers also walk in from the other board edge. So basically right now he's going to just try to outgun the Orks right now and hopefully get first blood. And then the bikes come in. And they start unloading on the Ludas. And the Warp Spiders start. First, they have to, of course, keep moving. So the Wraith Lords move up once again to get a good shot off at the Battle Wagon. And those Striking Scorpions move up. The final Shining Spears move up to all the dice, I guess. But they better jump over the dice. And the bikes just move back a little bit to just get some shooting. And they try not to engage the non-bikers because they're pretty scary in close combat. The bike squad starts shooting at the Ludas, and they're just hoping to do some decimation. They get a lot of hits, as you can see. And the whites are actually the cannon shots. And forced wound, of course. A bunch of wounds, and no real cover saves because they're really on the open, and he loses most of them. I think 7 the first time, or 8 of them the first time, so the majority of the squad's already dead. And then he just keeps shooting at them. So then he shoots at the Battle Wagon once again with the 2 Wraith Lords that were unable to do anything to it last game. Gets a hit, but can't glance or pen, so nothing there. And then the other one shoots at it. Get a few hits, but then can't get by the glances or pens once again. As you can see. So then he starts shooting at the Ludas. Pipe Blade on top of the larger squad of Ludas now. And it hits, which is great for the Eldar. It's able to hit 7, I believe. He's forced to wound. And wounds half of them, so 3 of them are dead. That was from the Swooping Hawks. Their pipe plate when they land back on the board. And just keep shooting at them. And as you can see, if you just keep shooting at Ludas, they don't have a really good save, and they don't have any cover. So he just keeps shooting at them, and they'll slowly go away. And then he starts unloading on the non-bikers. Non-bikers are a little bit harder to kill since they're toughness 5 and 6, and they get a mobile cover save, so it's pretty hard to hurt them. And actually there's 1 wound to it. And they do, and he fails. So 1 wound on the closest non-biker. And he fails his armor save, gets Feel No Pain, and fails that too. So the closest one is removed. And those Warp Spiders still get, now they're shooting, and Warp Spiders are pretty fun because they drop in and unload a whole lot of shots on your opponent. He's able to do a few wounds, rolls armor saves, and that with Feel No Pain gets 1 non-biker dead, and the other one with a wound off it. And just keep shooting at them. Basically, right now his goal is just to mow them down slowly but surely with concentrated fire. And he's rolling with all of his armor, and as you can see, 4 of them in the end are saved, but the whole squad of them are dead, of the Ludas, and that is first blood. So then it's a leadership check for the other Ludas. They do their leadership check, needing a 7, and they pass, luckily, otherwise they would have run off the board pretty much entirely. And then uses assault phase, jumps with the Warp Spiders, just to separate them out and space them out a little bit away from those non-bikers. And then turbo boosts his Autarch a little bit away of them. and moves his bikes back during the assault phase. Right now, he's able to get his concentrated fire off, so now he's just trying to get a little bit out of the way of them so that they can just get out of the way and not be assaulted and destroyed by the crazy non-bikers the following turn. And then everyone just moves back a little bit and adjusts just for next turn.
So here's what the battlefield looks like after 2 turns. As you can see, Eldar have been moving around, spacing around, maneuvering, shooting, killing. One squad of Ludas is dead, the other squad of Ludas, nice check on leadership, and they're still in the game. Battle Wagon, still immobilized, still unkillable. Not Bikers took 2 wounds? 2 guys, right?
2 guys.
2 guys, 4 wounds total, yeah. And besides that, the Shining Spears have taken some heavy casualties, and we'll see what happens in turn 3. Will the Storm Boys come in? We'll see.
So now it's Orks turn 3. Zagstruck comes in, scatters slightly, and they're really concerned right now about getting all the boys in without the mishapping because there's such a large squad, but they were able to land in perfectly. Any more, it would have been troubles. So they land in. They're going to be hilarious in close combat since they can assault the turn they come in. And the knobs decide to get out of that pesky battle wagon since it's immobilized and they can't really do anything. So he moves up his bikes, just engage the Eldar troop bikes. They'll be pretty nasty as I said in close combat due to the just sheer number of power claws and big choppas. Eldar bikes are very maneuverable, but not very good in close combat, other than the Shining Spears. So he starts shooting at the Shining Spears. Not much in there. Then he shoots at the other bikes with his non-bikers. Forces a bunch of armor saves, and there are 3 up armor saves on the bikes. And he fails 2 more, so 2 more bikes are dead. And then he tries to fix that vehicle and is unsuccessful. He cannot fix the injured battle wagon, unfortunately, so it's going to be immobilized for another turn. Then declares assaults, gets to Overwatch from those 3 remaining bikes. They get a few hits, but no wounds. And they roll their distance, and they are able to get into close combat. And then Zagstruck is also able to assault. He decides to try to multi-assault, but he tries to assault the Warp Spiders first. They get to Overwatch, and they miss with all of their shots. And they're able to multi-assault in, so they get the Warp Spiders as well as the bikes, which is going to be pretty scary for all those guys. They're going to be a lot of attacks on them. Plus, there's Zagstruck with his Power Claw feet, and they're just really nasty that strike at initiative. So Eldar, of course, get higher initiative than Orks, because Eldar are always first to hit, basically. So they get a couple wounds. He fails 2 armor saves on the Storm Boys, and also to assault. I believe he killed 3 Storm Boys, because you have to take out D3 Storm Boys whenever you assault. And another Storm Boy is killed in close combat, and then the Warp Spiders. Sorry, then the boys get hit back. Zagstruck alone kills 3 of the Warp Spiders, and then all those Storm Boy attacks, and as you can see, they're just going to mow them all down because a whole lot of attacks in the turn they assault. He fails a few more armor saves and loses a few more Warp Spiders. So now there's only 4 more Warp Spiders left. Then they do the rest of the attacks that are on the bikes. And he loses a lot of bikes as well. So Eldar player definitely lost combat. He rolls his first leadership check on the bikes. They fail. And then rolls his leadership check on the Warp Spiders. And they fail. So they're both in trouble. They do their initiative rolls off to see if either of them are caught. Unfortunately, the Orc player only rolls a 1, so they definitely get away. He rolls his 3d6 for each of them because they're fast. The bikes first go, and they fly completely off the board. So they're dead. And then the Warp Spiders roll for their 3d6. And they go off the board with a giant 17 inches off the board. And the Orc player consolidates 2 inches. And now it's Eldar, turn 3. Once again, rolling for reserves. The Guardians come in. And they come in off the board edge. And they're going to start lighting up those Storm Boys that were so successful in close combat. So they do their run. And then he just moves up his Striking Scorpions, just behind covered, hide cover, and moves up his Wraith Lords. He hopes those Wraith Lords will be able to crush the non-bikers in close combat, since they are pretty high strength and toughness. They're pretty hard to kill. And decides to move back the bikes so that his bikes can be untouchable from the Orc Knob Bikers. And finally sidesteps his walkers. He uses his combat focus to run them slightly and shoot them. And finally the Shining Spears move up to get engaged, the Knob Bikers. And then decides to do a very, very risky move by getting his Autarch in close to assault the Knob Bikers and challenge the Warlord. So he uses combat focus to run the Guardians before shooting. And then he starts shooting. Right now the goal is to gun down those Storm Boys, take as many out as possible, because the more he kills, the better situation he is. And as you saw in the previous one, Storm Boys assaulting with Zagstruck can be very deadly. And he fails his armor save, so he loses a few Storm Boys. And next he runs up the other Guardians, which will, a few of them will be able in shooting range of the Knob Bikers, I believe. And the Walkers now unload. So first they'll run, and then they'll unload all their shots on those Storm Boys, hoping to wipe them out. The best thing about Walkers is they get a lot of shots. They're Ballistic Skill 4 now with the new Codex, and 2s to wound. So he rolls all his armor saves, and he loses all the Storm Boys minus Zagstruck. So Zagstruck's still alive, I believe, with 1 wound left. He rolls his armor saves for him, and only fails 1. So only 1 wound left on Zagstruck, but he's still alive and has his Power Claws left to attack back. And next is Autarch shoots and doesn't hit. He actually missed his, and he's Ballistic Skill 6, which is pretty scary. And next he tries to drop a pie plate on top of the Knob Bikers. It hits directly. Doesn't wound either though, unfortunately, needing 5s. They're just going to shoot at the Knob Bikers, hoping to weaken them slightly, so that he can assault them and wipe them off the board. And the problem is right now is that Aaron keeps passing his Feel No Pains. He's very good at rolling his Feel No Pains and doesn't do any damage whatsoever to the Knob Bikers. So he keeps shooting at them. Rolls his armor saves. Fails 1, but Feel No Pain. And makes it again. So he's just staying alive. So they keep firing at them then. Few hits, few wounds. Then he rolls his armor saves once again. Fails 1. But he gets his Feel No Pain. And fails it, so he finally gets a 1 wound on 1 guy. And all that shooting did was do that 1. Then he fails another armor save. Rolls his Feel No Pain, and loses again. So another Knob Biker. Because these are being shot from 2 different targets at the same time. So then he keeps shooting at the Knob Bikers. As I said, right now, he just wants to whittle them down. Slowly but surely, with enough firepower, he'll just take 1 out at a time. 3s to wound, 3s to hit. And gets 3 more. He fails an armor save, gets a Feel No Pain, and fails it again. So another Knob Biker gets a wound on him. These wound allocation things are really going to be the bane of the Eldar player's existence. And yep, so next they declare their assault distances. They overwatch, but don't do any wounds to the Wraith Lord. They roll for their distance. First Wraith Lord needs a 2 on this second dice because he needs 8 inches, but only gets 7, so not enough. The other Wraith Lord also declares his assault, rolls for his distance, and gets a 10, so he's in. And the next is Striking Scorpions. They fail their distance. They have fleet, but they still fail their distance. And then finally, the Shining Spears jump in because they need to get into close combat. That's all they're really good for. And then the Autarch jumps in. And he gets in. They didn't do anything in Overwatch, and he's going to challenge the War Boss, and you'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting in a moment. So he gets his attacks in. The Autarch gets to go. They should challenge, and the War Boss accepted. Needs, of course, 4s to hit. And gets 4 hits out of his 5 attacks, which is nice, and 3s to wound. At this point, he's hoping to kill the War Boss. I don't think he gets an armor save. So he gets 4 wounds. He rolls his 5+ invols, passes 2 of them, and with Feel No Pain, passes 1 of the Feel No Pain. So only 1 wound on the War Boss. He was hoping he'd die, but nothing at all. And then he hits back, and you can kind of see what's going to happen to the Autarch. And the Autarch rolls his invol, fails 2 of them, and is instant killed by the War Boss. So there's a Slay the Warlord. That is very unfortunate. And next, the Wraith Lord gets to go in the Not Bikers. Hammer Wrath wounds. And he fails his armor save. So a wound on him. They're toughness 5, so no one's been killed. Next, the Wraith Lord gets his attacks. And they're okay. Essentially, they only do that 1 damage due to Hammer Wrath. Shining Spears get to go. Shining Spears get 1 hit, 1 wound. He rolls an armor save and passes it for his invul, so they're okay. And the other one's dead. So he kills 1 Knob Biker. They're finally starting to whittle down the crazy horde of Knob Bikers. And then the Wraith Lords also hit. And get a wound. He hits his invul. And fails it. He gets his feel no pain. And fails that too. So 1 wound on him. So then the extra Autarch attacks. Or the extra Shining Spear attack. And he passes 1 of his invuls. So 1 more wound on him. And the attacks just keep coming. And then the Orks strike back with all their power fists and all the power claws and their poison attacks. As you can see, what's going to happen is he's going to lose a couple guys. So he fails his armor save, and the other guy's dead too. So one of the Shining Spears is dead, and it is his leader Shining Spear. So that's very unfortunate because he couldn't look out Surret. And the Orks pile back in, initiative step 1 with their power claws, and they kill a Wraith Lord. So the Wraith Lord is gone.
Yeah, so here's what the board looks like after 3 turns. There's only 3 turns. Here's what's left. So there was heavy casualties in this combat for the Eldar, but they're still tied up in combat. The Knobs are there. Not much to go for. Zagstruck's by himself. He's going to have fun with 1 wound left. And the Eldar are still around. And there's 5 lonely Ludas. We'll see what happens in turn.
So Orks turn 4. He begins by moving up his Knobs, so that they can go for the opponent. If they get to your zone, you'll be in big trouble, especially if you're an Eldar player. He's got to get his Knobs to the opponent's zone. He tries to heal his battle wagon and is successful, so now it won't be immobilized during next turn. And then he runs his Knob Bikers, tries to assault in to the Walkers. They get to Overwatch back, and Overwatch alone does 3 wounds. He fails his armor save, and Zagstruck is killed by Overwatch alone, which is unfortunate. So back into close combat. The Shining Spear gets to get his attacks first. And misses entirely, and then the Orc player strikes back, and you can kind of predict what's going to happen since this one little Shining Spear against all those power claw attacks. He does survive the poison attacks, but then the power and the big choppas, but then the power claws step in and they kind of crunch him, and the last guy dies, and they move 5 inches for their consolidation. And now it's Eldar turn 4. So the Swooping Hawks, they drop in. They're going to drop a bomb on top of the Knob Bikers. And right now the goal is just to move up. All the Eldar just move up to surround the remaining Orks. And they want to light them up and shoot as much as possible. So the bikes jump out so they can shoot the Knob Bikers and whittle them down hopefully a little bit more before the other Wraith Lord jumps in. He did kind of learn his lesson because the War Boss can chomp through Wraith Lords pretty easily. And then the Walkers move up, and they're going to hopefully take out as many of those Knob Bikers as possible and block the way so that he can't get towards the objective. Right now the goal is just block objectives and tie up the remaining Orks for as long as possible, and maybe you can destroy them and get lucky. So next, move up the Guardians, and they're going to also shoot at the Knob Bikers. So the Swooping Hawks drop their template on top of the Knob Bikers. It doesn't scatter at all, since they're ballistic skill 4. And it wounds 2 of them, which is pretty nice. He rolls his armor saves. He gets a 5-up invul. Or sorry, 5 field no pains. And fails 1 of them. So 1 of them gets a wound on him. And then the rest of the shots happen at the same time. It's a shooting attack. And he fails one, but feel no pain. And they're gone, so one knob's gone. And fails another one. Feel no pain, fails it again. So one more wound on another knob. The wound allocation is getting pretty crazy on these knobs, as you can see. And then they just jump aside a little bit because he used their combat focus. Next shooting happens. 3's to hit as always because Eldar now pretty much everything needs a 3 to hit at worst. And 4's to wound. The knobs and fails one armor save and no feel no pain. So another knob is injured by the Guardian Fire. Then he rolls the other armor saves. And feel no pain. A couple more failed. So another knob is dead. And they just keep firing at those knobs. If he can take them out, or as many as possible, and get the walkers safe, he'd be in a good shape to block his objectives. But obviously, if he kills the walkers, he gets another victory point, since heavies are worth an extra victory point in this level. So he rolls his armor saves and fails a bunch of armor saves from the shooting from the walkers. Gets his feel no pain and fails a lot of those, as you can see. So it ends up killing a good chunk of the knobs. As you can see, it's just down to 2 knobs and the war boss left. And then he combat focuses them 6 inches up to block the laneways. And now he starts shooting at the knob bikers with the war boss. Gets a bunch of hits, bunch of wounds. He fails a couple of them. Then rolls his cover saves on the past lookout sirs. And fails the first one, so he's dead now. The pain boy has been killed, so no more feel no pain. And once the feel no pain's gone, knob bikers really do start dropping like flies. So that's just down to the war boss there and a couple knob bikers. And they just keep firing at him. So now the Wraith Lord shoots, gets a bunch of hits, bunch of wounds. Twin linking is awesome due to the scatter lasers. And he passes the first cover save, fails the second. So another knob is dead. Fails another one, another knob's dead. And the rest go on the war boss. And he fails them, so the war boss is killed, and now it's 2-2, slay the warlord. And next, he turns his attention to those 5 remaining Ludas. Can he kill them? The blast hits, and the rest of the shooting hits as well. He rolls his armor saves, and fails them. They fail their leadership check, and they run right off the board. So the Luda's gone too. And now the remaining Guardians will just jump up so they can go for that one remaining objective. And because they have fleet, the striking scorpions will roll, and they roll 1 for their run distance too. So they'll move up slightly towards the objective.
All right, so after 4 turns, here's what the battlefield looks like. As you can see, there's 1 scoring unit right there left for the Orks, but they're strong, and they're in front of them is a giant meat shield of awesomeness that will hurt him if they die. Eldar have that objective. Eldar have that objective. Orks, this immobilized awesome vehicle is scoring that objective still, so that's not bad. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
The only thing we didn't do is a blind check for these guys.
Oh yeah,
because it does matter.
We'll see in turn whatever.
Turn 5 for Orks. So now they he fails the leadership check for them as well. Uses boss pull, but fails the armor save implied by the knob. So they do their leadership check, and they're okay. And it's his blind check, and he passes it. So they're okay. And next, the war boss and the bikes decide to run through the walkers, essentially. They want to get past the walkers and get to the guardians, because they're scoring the objective at the moment. And then the heavy battle wagon runs and jumps on top of the objective. This time he passes his immobilized check, and he's able to get into that terrain and end up scoring that objective in the middle of the table. And he decides to shoot at the Wraith Lord with the cannon, but misses due to overwatching. So then the knob decides to assault. They overwatch, and don't do anything really. So they're able to get into their distance. They roll the perfect distance needed, and the knobs and the war boss are able to get to the guardians. And this is going to be a very hard combat for those guardians. So there was a psychic power that brings them down to weapon skill 3. And they do 1 wound to them. And they roll an armor save on the knob, and he's okay. So then the Eldar continue their attacks. Hit on 4s, wound on 2s. This is from the Witchblade from the Warlock, who challenged the Warboss, and the Warboss accepted. He gets his normal armor save against it. And fails. He gets feel no pain, and fails it as well. So 1 wound left on the Warboss. And now the Warboss gets to hit back. He has a weapon skill 3 to the spell. He gets 2 hits and 2s to wound and does nothing. He actually completely whiffed. So the rest of them try to hit. They do nothing. And then the other attacks get a few hits, couple wounds. He rolls his armor saves on the Eldar side, 4+ armor. And passes all but 1. So the Warlock is killed by the Warboss by that Power Fist. So those were invul saves, sorry. And then they all pile in, and now it's Eldar turn 5 since that was tied combat. So we begin by rolling off for night fighting because we forgot it the previous time, but doesn't come back anyway. And next the Eldars advance, go score those objectives, and they all run and just jump on top of them. The Swooping Hawks will stay in his deployment zone so that they can get Linebreaker at the end of the game, since they're pretty much safe for the rest of the game. And then the Walkers move up to go shoot at the Battle Wagon. It will get cover, obviously, but they'll shoot at it and hopefully kill it, and then if not, assault it with the Wraith Lord, who will then score the objective. So they shoot it with the Warwalkers. They use their combat focus so that they can run and get in the rear arc so that they can shoot the rear armor. And they unload with a lot of shots. 3s to hit and 4s to glance, 5s to pen, so a lot of damage. He rolls all the cover saves and fails all but 1. So his 1 hull point left. So then they roll the pens, the cover saves for the pens, and fail those 2. So then you get to see if it explodes. And it does. It does explode. It explodes a couple inches but doesn't hurt anything. So it is gone, and another kill point for the Eldar. And then they just stay in the deployment zone, as I mentioned. They shoot their grenades, and they destroy the tower for his opponent. It's worth the tertiary objectives, not for the actual game score. So then next, back to that combat with the Warboss. He gets a couple wounds on him. The Eldar player is able to get a couple wounds on the knobs and the Warboss. But that feel no pain is just eluding him, and he keeps surviving with his feel no pain rolls. So then the Warboss hits back in the chat. So the one knob hits back and does a wound. He rolls his armor save for the Guardians, which is, I believe, a 5-up. And he's okay. So then the rest of attacks from the Orc boy, the knobs, and these are probably going to hurt. 1 hit, 2 wounds, so 2 die. And then the Warboss hits and gets 2 wounds on the squad, so 2 more Guardians die. They do their leadership check, and they fail. So he rolls, and he's able to get away. And he rolls 6 inches, which is just back. So they don't count as scoring the objective because they're officially fleeing. So they don't count as scoring the objective.
So here's what the board looks like after 5 turns. Right now the score is 9-5, roughly 9-5. They've got this one. Eldar has that one. Orcs have that one because the Eldar are falling back. And they've got Linebreaker. Both armies have slayed the Warlord and Eldar First Blood. So we'll see what happens. Will the game end? I don't know. Does it end? Yes, the game ends. So hearty handshake. That is a good game. And it's an Eldar victory.
So thank you very much for watching this Warhammer 40k League Battle Report. And if you want to see another exciting Warhammer 40k League Battle Report, click on the link below for a free 7-day trial to the MiniWarGaming Vault. Not only will you get access to this battle report, but you'll also get access to many other awesome battle reports, as well as just some great wargaming content. So, till next time, this is Jay saying, happy wargaming, everyone.